everyone, welcome to Studious IELTS. My name is Surinder Chaudhary. My today's lecture is about a workshop on one of the most commonly occurring type of questions in IELTS reading, that is true, false, not given. So, in this workshop, I am going to walk you through the entire process. How can we solve these tricky questions in which a number of students actually get stuck because they are unable to find the right location for their answer, as well as they cannot be able to establish the connection between the question and the information given in the passage. So in this workshop, if you watch it till the end, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to understand it, as well as I am going to elaborate each and every method through which we can solve these questions. All right. So starting with this workshop, let me tell you, I have taken a particular passage from the reading, that is Mystery in Easter Island. So in this passage, there are total 6 questions that are true, false, not given category questions. So you can first of all have a preview of it, how the questions appear. So you are needed to read the instructions very carefully. If you do that, half of your job is done, because majority of students make a very common error, because true, false, not given category appears in two forms. Sometimes they will ask you to mark your answers either true or false or not given, but sometimes they also ask you to mark it yes, no, not given. So don't confuse them. If you are marking your true answer as yes, you will get 0 marks, no matter you have actually answered it correctly. So please be careful about this. So this is the preview in which they are asking you to answer question number 1 to question number 6. These are question number 1 to question number 6, and you will have to read them very carefully to understand their meaning. If you do that, you will be able to track your locations correctly. Okay, so before we begin our workshop, I have a number of times informed you to do 3 major steps in your reading. First is skimming, second is scanning, third is in-depth reading. So before you go deep into the questions, I would recommend you to have a quick skimming and scanning of your text. Skimming is finding the main ideas of your entire text by reading it very quickly, by going through it very quickly. And scanning means finding the key points, whether it is a date or a name or a specific area that has been mentioned in the passage, so that when you are trying to solve your questions, you already know your locations where you are supposed to look for. Only then the role of in-depth reading comes. Then you can associate your question with the passage itself with proper analysis, proper in-depth reading. So this is the way you will be able to solve these tricky questions. Okay, first of all, try to understand what you have to answer. True means if the statement actually matches with the passage. For example, the question number 1 is there. If the entire question number 1 and all the factors that has been mentioned in question number 1 matches with the information given in the passage, you will mark it true. If that is opposite in meaning, you will mark it false. Finally, if your information in the passage and your statement in the question have some insimilarities, for example, there are 3 aspects that has been asked in question number 1, but your passage is actually carrying only 2. One is missing from there. You will mark it not given, because not given is that category which confuses the students a lot. So here you will have to be very careful about that. Once you go through this video, you will be able to know which answer is to be marked not given. So remember this. Okay, as I told you, your skimming and scanning is done. You have read the passage, right? You have scanned it, you have skimmed it properly. So now we are going to find the location for our question number 1. The question number 1 says, the first inhabitants of Easter Island are Polynesians from the Marquesas or Society Islands. There are multiple factors of it. First of all, you will have to understand all these. So they are talking about the origin of inhabitants. And in origin, they are saying that first they were Polynesians from the origin. Second, they say that they came from Marquesas or Society Islands. So we will have to find out that did actually it match or not, right? Okay, so during your skimming you already know where the origin of the inhabitants is talked about, where the first inhabitants were mentioned, where they came from and who they actually were. So due to that we have come to this part of our passage, and what this part says, we will read the highlighted area so that you can save your time. On the other hand, I would also recommend you to pause the video before I answer it and read the entire information on your screen, so that before I tell you your answer, you can easily find the answer yourself. If that doesn't match, it will be a great practice for you. In the future, you will be able to avoid that error in your solution of question. Okay, so let's read the highlighted part. This is all about the origin of the inhabitants. It says, it is now recognized that the original inhabitants of Easter Island are of Polynesian stock, and the DNA extracts from skeletons have confirmed this. So, first part of our question is clear. Yes, they are Polynesians, and it has been determined by DNA. It has been confirmed by DNA. So, till now, we understand it to be true. Does the next information match? Let's find out that. It further says they were from the Marquesas or Society Island. Will were they? Let's see. Okay, it says that they most probably came from the Marquesas or Society Islands. So this is how we will find the difference, because here they are making it sure कि yes, they were from the Marquesas or Society Islands, but the information given in the passage is not sure about it. They are keeping it in the probability part. So if they say they were most probably were from Marquesas, so definitely we are not going to be sure about it. So eventually I will mark question number 1 as not given. So this is how I will be able to establish a connection between question and the given information in the passage. And if that information doesn't match correctly, it means it is in not given category. Okay, moving to question number 2. Question number 2 says construction of some Moai statues on the island was not finished. So it is talking about the status of some of the statues, in which stage of completion were they, and according to them some of them were not completed at all. So let's read it completely. Yeah, we will read it from the beginning, because we know the location of construction of these statues. We will directly go to that part of reading. So let's read it with me from the beginning. That culture's most famous features are its enormous stone statues called Moai. So what Moai actually are, it has been defined. At least 288 of which once stood upon massive stone platforms called Ahu. There are some 250 of these Ahu platforms spaced approximately 1/2 mile apart and creating an almost unbroken line around the perimeter of the island. So this is also talking about the number of completed statues and also their position on that island. But there is a catch. The catch is another 600 Moai statues in various stages of completion are scattered around the island. But there were 600 more which were not completed at all. And if these were not completed, eventually this becomes true, right? So this is how we are going to establish a proper connection between the question and the information given in the passage. You will have to read it in depth, right? You will have to find the connection properly, and you will have to establish that meaning which is available in the question as well as in the passage. So according to this, it is a true statement, because there were some statues which were not completed because they were in different stages of completion. It means some of them were incomplete. All right, let's move ahead in this category. Question number 3. The question says the Moai can be found not only on Easter Island but also elsewhere in Polynesia. So question says these cannot be restricted to one island only. These can be found elsewhere as well, that is in Polynesia. Okay, let's try to establish that connection once again. It says scholars are unable to definitively explain the function and use of the Moai statues. It is assumed that their carving and erection derived from an idea rooted in similar practices found elsewhere in Polynesia. Its idea, not the statues, its idea was actually rooted in similar practices of making the statues found elsewhere in Polynesia. Idea can be found somewhere, but which evolved in a unique way on Easter Island. But its evolution was very much unique to Easter Island only. Unique means obviously it is connected to this place only. So eventually the statement will become false. Statement said it can be found elsewhere as well, but in this entire passage, or the information given in the passage clearly says that it was unique to Easter Island. So in this way, the meanings collide with one another. If that happens, definitely it will be incorrect and it will be eventually marked false in your answer. Okay, moving ahead, question number 4. It says, most archaeologists recognized the astronomical functions for an ancient society. Most archaeologists, let's split the question into different parts. Most archaeologists recognize something. What that something is? The astronomical functions. Astronomical function was recognized by them for an ancient society. That function for an ancient society. Let's try to establish that connection once again, because during our scanning we found about astronomical functions of these actually, you can say, sites. Let's see what it says. Read the highlighted part with me. It says, host of mythological details ignored by mainstream archaeologists point to the possibility that the remote island may once have been a geodetic marker and the site of an astronomical observatory of a long forgotten civilization. Now, this long forgotten civilization refers to ancient society. You can say mainstream archaeologists are also there. But what did they do? Even its astronomical function is also available for that society. But what was the reaction, or what was the response of these archaeologists to this function? They ignored it. There you can read. Host of mythological details ignored by mainstream archaeologists. So you can clearly see a contrast between information given in the passage and the question asked. Question says they recognized it, but the passage says they ignored it. Eventually, we will also mark it false. Okay, question number 5. Fifth question says, the structures of Easter Island work as an astronomical outpost for extraterrestrial visitors. Let me tell you the meaning of extraterrestrial visitors, those who are moving across the planets for the purpose of research. So let's see, does the entire information match with the question, or is there some mismatch in it? So let's read the highlighted part once again. It says, the site of an astronomical observatory of a long forgotten civilization. That we have already read in the previous paragraph as well, because we know that it was a site for a long forgotten civilization, right? It was astronomical outpost or astronomical site, of course. But let's read it further. Does it actually make sense with the question? In his book, Heaven's Mirror, Graham Hancock suggests that Easter Island may once have been a significant scientific outpost of this antediluvian civilization, and that its location had extreme importance in a planet-spanning, mathematically precise grid of sacred sites. Yes, they are also talking about planet spanning thing, which is the characteristic of extraterrestrial activities. One thing is still missing in the question, that is visitors. They said yes, it was an astronomical outpost. This is clearly mentioned in the passage, right? It was a planet spanning function. It is also clear. But one thing they haven't mentioned in the passage, that is the visitors who are moving across the planets for the purpose of research. So eventually I will mark this question as not given, because one factor, which is the key factor of the question, is missing from the passage itself. Question number 6, which is also the last question of our workshop, it says the theory that depleted natural resources leading to the failure of Easter Island actually have a distorted perspective. Okay, let's split the question now. For understanding it, we will have to put it into different parts. First of all, there was a theory, and that theory was about natural resources, right? Depletion of natural resources, which further led to the Easter Island actually led to the failure of Easter Island, I would say, right? There are three parts I have already talked about. One, there was a theory. The theory was about the depletion of natural resources, and the depletion further led to the failure of Easter Island. But what that theory was like, what was the nature of that theory? Further, they say have a distorted perspective. This theory had a distorted perspective, means it did not have valid basis to be proved. So let's find all these factors in our paragraph. Right? It will be a lengthier kind of reading. So read with me. If you will do that, you will find it. Okay. It says in the later years of the 20th century and the first years of the 21st century, various writers and scientists have advanced theories regarding the rapid decline of Easter Island's magnificent civilization. Yes, one part is covered. A theory was established, right? Just as the question says, a theory was established by different scientists and writers. Around the time of the first European contact, principal among these theories, which was the major theory, and now shown to be inaccurate, which is also proved to be inaccurate as well, is that postulated by Jared Diamond in his book Collapse: How Societies Choose to Fail or Survive. Basically, these theories state that a few centuries after Easter Island's initial colonization, the resource needs of the growing population had begun to outpace the island's capacity to renew itself ecology. Second part has also been covered. The theory explained that the depletion or the scarcity of resources led to the failure of that island. So first part is being covered. Now one thing we have to make sure, that they said at the end of the question, have a distorted perspective, means we will have to say that that theory was not accurate, that theory had something that was not genuine, that was not true, or you can say not authentic. Okay, read with me, because reading is very important. Why am I making you read along with me? Because if you generate that habit in your reading practices, you can find your answers very quickly. If you are finding the keywords all the time, you will never be able to settle for right answers. So please make a habit of reading it completely. If you do that, it becomes absolutely easy for you to establish the connection between question and the information given in the passage. Okay, going ahead. By the 1400s, the forests had been entirely cut, the rich ground cover had eroded away, the springs had dried up, and the vast flocks of birds coming to roost on the island had disappeared. With no logs to build canoes for the offshore fishing, with depleted bird and wildlife food sources, and with declining crop yields because of the erosion of good soil, the nutritional intake of the people plummeted. The entire reason why they said that the depletion of resources led to the failure of society has been explained here. Now, one more thing proves here. If you are finding your answer on a single location, because if you would have marked the answer for this question based on this only, you would have marked it not given, because this part hasn't appeared yet. So there are many readings in which you will not find the entire answer on a single location. This answer is actually half given in this part of passage. To pick the entire answer, we will have to go ahead as well. Now comes the location to find the final part of our question. What is that location? It says the faulty notions presented in these theories began with the racist assumptions of Thor Heyerdahl and have been perpetuated by writers such as Jared Diamond, who do not have sufficient archaeological and historical understanding of the actual events which occurred on Easter Island. So here the statement proves right. In the previous slide, you read that there was a theory and what the theory was about and why that theory was generated. Here, they have clearly said that all the basis of those theories were inaccurate, were not authentic. So this is how you will prove this statement to be true. So the actual answer for question number 6 is true. So that was entire thing. That was actually methodology of solving true, false, not given questions in an easier way. And if you follow this way all through your practice, you will be able to mark your answers correctly. Okay, we will also have some videos related to different types of questions, and we will be able to solve these in those workshops in the same method so that the way can become easy for you. And one more thing I'm going to tell you, that I am not limited to English language only. My trainings are available in different languages like Hindi, Punjabi, Haryanvi, or even Rajasthani. So if you want such videos, such workshops to be conducted in those languages, I can provide that. You can just comment in the comment box of this video, and I will provide such videos on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much.